everyone. Some of you have been thinking ahead to the final essay for this course, which is due August 1st. So, yeah, this is kind of an opportunity at the end of the course for you to really focus on something in particular and develop your thoughts about it. There has been some request for some clarification of the assignment, but I think pretty much all I have to say is here in the assignment. But I'll go over it and then maybe extrapolate a little bit on different points. The first thing is choose 1 week of the course that you want to focus on. So every week of the course has a kind of a theme, at least insofar as the readings do relate to one another. So choose 1 week that is amenable to you. It doesn't matter what it is, just something that you are particularly interested in. And then in that week, choose at least 2 of the readings. Could be all 3, but at least 2 of the readings from that week. Probably 2 is better, but you can, talk about all 3 if you want. And then write a comparative analysis of the readings, the 2 readings. How do they relate to each other? In what meaningful ways are they similar or different in the ideas they're getting across? Do you have a strong preference for one text over another? Why or why not? These are just very general prompts just to get you thinking about these texts and how they relate to one another. Obviously, this is not a research assignment. I really would prefer you not to do any secondary reading. Really, what you're trying to do here is to develop your ideas, your own personal ideas about something that you've read. And the important thing is to have an idea, to develop an idea or set of ideas over the course of this discussion. So the essay should be about 4 pages long, which is 1,000 words. It can be longer, certainly can be longer. It shouldn't be shorter. I mean, you really need to have some space to develop your thoughts. And then please pay close attention to the last thing that it says there. It should present a substantive overall idea of your own. That is, in some way or another, this comparative analysis should result in some kind of idea, or you should have some guiding idea in the writing of it. So remember that. You got to say something. You have to have an idea. You have to say something in this essay. As far as choosing a week and choosing readings to compare with one another, let's just randomly, let's say week 3, week 3. Why not? The 3 readings: Declaration of Independence, Madison's Federalist Number 10, and the Bill of Rights. Choose 2 to talk about. How about the Federalist Number 10 and the Bill of Rights? That's just random. But what's going on in Federalist Number 10? What are your ideas about it? What is Madison trying to do there? What does he have to say about faction? What does he have to say about liberty? What does he have to say about why a republic is the best form of government to preserve liberty and at the same time control faction? What is going on in the Bill of Rights? Why is there a Bill of Rights? Why are the rights or protections specifically that they are in there? And during the course of your thinking about it, what are the similarities? What are the differences? Differences here, I think, would be, in this particular random pairing, I would say differences. The Bill of Rights is about protecting individual rights. It's about liberty. Madison's Federalist is primarily about controlling faction. Right? So already there's a kind of an opposition or a contrast to work with. Say that you chose week 4, and say that you were reading Locke's Theory of Property from the Second Treatise of Government, and you wanted to compare it with what's going on in the Communist Manifesto. That would be a great contrast, right, to develop your ideas on. So obviously, Smith and Locke seem to be, at least on the surface, very, very different, ideologically at least, from Marx and Engels. But there are probably commonalities, too, to find. Week 5 we haven't looked at yet, but week 5 would be an extremely interesting thing to contrast. The obvious I guess pairing there would be Darwin's chapter on summarizing the results of the descent of man, his theory of evolution as it applies to human beings, with what Pope John Paul II said in '96 in his letter to Catholic biologists on evolution. That would be extremely interesting, that sort of contrast. The last week, it's really meant to be a contrast. We're reading Rudyard Kipling's, really kind of very, I would say, offensive poem, The White Man's Burden, which manages to be both racist and colonialist. And, you know, with Du Bois's, really his reply to that, and I mean, not particularly to Kipling, but certainly he was aware of Kipling, but to generally speaking to European and North American colonialism, the souls of white folk, which is pretty incredible. That would be an obvious contrast. But pick anything you want, as long as you pick two readings from the same week. Certainly, Wollstonecraft and Kant, whatever it is, and develop a comparative reading. What are these readings about? How do they relate to each other? What ideas do you have of them? And especially, let's say, in something like week 3, where you've got, again, kind of a straight up pro-slavery racist thing like Fitzhugh's Cannibals All, contrasting that with Douglas would be pretty interesting. Or Douglas and Elizabeth Cady Stanton's Declaration of Sentiments. That might be interesting too, to compare. A black person in the 19th century talking about what it's like to be a black person in America, and then comparing that with the feminist document here, the Declaration of Sentiments. What are the objections that women have in the 19th century? That would be extremely. So, I mean, there's so much to write about. It's really a matter of what your personal taste is and choice, and what you think would make a good essay. Let me just say again that the important thing here is to have an idea. The important thing here is to have a fruitful experience comparing two different texts and coming out of it with something. So that's what's important. Let me just tell you, the other important thing is don't copy and paste from any other sources. I'm getting this essay at the very end of the class. If you plagiarize, you're going to get an F, and that's going to pretty much destroy your grade. So that's the one thing you can't do in this, is cheat. I mean, that goes without saying, right? But let's be real here. I mean, if you, some students, I don't know who you guys are. I don't know you personally. And I know that some students regularly cheat. I mean, they copy and paste, they plagiarize. It's a very serious matter. So the only way you're going to fail, if you write a 4-page essay about this, it follows the directions here, you are not going to fail this assignment. The only way you're going to fail is if you plagiarize. And I will fail anybody who's plagiarizing. You won't get another chance to write it. I mean, it's the worst thing you can do as a student is plagiarize. So don't do it. Just to relax and write, write about something you're interested in. It's really just an exercise in, you showing that you can have a few ideas about what you've read. So if you have any questions about this assignment, or you'd like to talk about what you're planning on writing, feel free to contact me, email me, or call me, and we'll talk about it. I'd be happy to talk about it. I like talking about these texts, so don't hesitate to contact me.